it's me, Julianne, and today's Bookish Brits video is coming to you from my bed because I was filming all my videos on the other side of the room against that wall, but the light bulb's here and they've been really dark and I haven't been happy with the quality at all, so I thought let's give it a go on my bed. I don't like that there's more stuff going on in the background. I've got this the end of my bed and you can see a bit of my desk off to the side and there's a curtain, but hopefully it will be much better looking and nice and clear so you can actually see the books that I'm talking about. As I'm sure you know if you read my blog, link in the box, or there, or we're from YouTube, we're going to move it there because let's be honest, they like to move it, don't they? My favourite meme is Top 10 Tuesday. I love Top 10 Tuesday. I like writing the posts, I like reading other people's, and I just think it's so fun writing your answer to a topic or question and then seeing what everybody else has to say about it. Anyway, I looked back at last year and in January about this time there was a topic called something like Top 10 Books I Resolved to Read in 2013. And I looked at the list I made and I was horrified but not entirely shocked to see that I had barely read any of them. Worst blogger ever. So I'm going to try to use shame as a motivational tool and tell you about all the books that I've owned for a year or more, and basically set out my intention to read them at some point this year so that if I don't do it I will be really embarrassed. Yay! So first up is my biggest shame of all. This is a pile of books which I got for Christmas 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ago now, and I have not read any of them. I really wanted these books. I'm still really excited about the possibility of reading these books, and somehow I've not read them. So the examples I picked out to show you are as follows. It's So You, 35 Women Write About Personal Expression Through Fashion and Style. I love clothes and I was so excited. A book which is basically essays about people's clothes. Amazing. Why haven't I read this? Why? Next up is Eyes Like Stars by Lisa Manchev. I asked for this for Christmas based off the fact that it has a really pretty cover. I have read reviews for this and they've been a bit mixed. I still really want to read it because isn't it pretty? Don't I need an excuse to get the rest of the series? And it's kind of set in a fantasy stage world and that really appeals to me. I can't even tell you. But yeah, to my total shame, again, have not read it. Next up is Soulless by Girl Carriager. This is the first in this series and I know there are quite a few other books, and she's also written YA books which I turned down reviewing because I haven't read this yet, and I thought I'm not going to let myself do this. I'm not going to acquire more books by the same author when I haven't read the first one. I've read the first few pages a number of times and been like, I really want to read this, but I just can't. I need to finish another series first. So this year I'm going to finish another series and read this. Next up is Attack of the Theatre People by Mark Acito. I'm not really sure. This is the sort of sequel to his earlier book, How I Paid for College, which I read years ago and I absolutely loved. I kept thinking that maybe I should reread How I Paid for College before reading this. I kind of swing back and forth and like, I'll appreciate it more if I read How I Paid for College first. And then on the other hand, I'm like, but I remember How I Paid for College really well, so maybe I can just dive into this. I'm not really sure. I got How I Paid for College out of the library, so that's another issue. Finally, in my presents pile of shame, we've got the biggest shame of all, Angela Carter's book of fairy tales. This is beautiful. I love fairy tales. I love Angela Carter. Why have I not read this? I mean, the only thing against it is that it's a hardback, and so I can't carry it around. But otherwise, what's my excuse? Next up, we've got some books which I was sent to review and put on that Top 10 Tuesday list last year, but haven't got around to reading yet. And here they are, and here's my excuses. The Diviners by Libba Brain. What's putting me off is the fact that the second book in the series hasn't been released yet, so I'm like, I'm going to have to wait, and it's going to be really hard. I much prefer it when the next book in the series is out already. I don't do well with reading the first book in a series and then having to wait. But it's a pretty, and I know it'll be good, and I know I love the setting because it's set in the 1920s, and I love all that stuff. But we've got to finish the Gemma Doyle trilogy first. I'm currently reading one of them, but it's massive, so I can't carry it around. It's not quite that massive. It's like, it's about the size of this, but paperback. Accurate representation of how massive it is. So it's taken me a while to get through it, but what I have, the Diviners. You're next. Next is God Save the Queen by Kate Locke. I've read mixed reviews of this, but I love the whole idea of Queen Victoria being a vampire. It just sounds like a lot of fun. I didn't get around to reading this year because, again, it's the start of the series. That new series. Next up, books I bought myself, with my own money, of my own free will, and haven't read. So this was on that Top 10 Tuesday list. Again, Like Hat by Holly Black. I don't have any of her other series on the go. What is my excuse? I'm sure this will be amazing. I've heard a lot of good things. Next up is Girl by Blake Nelson. I got this because a lot of YA authors have mentioned this as an influence on them. It's considered to be quite a classic, and the only reason I think that I haven't tried reading this is because it's all in one blob. It's not split up into chapters, which makes me think that it'd be quite hard to put it down. And so I need to have the big stretch of time ahead of me so that I can properly read this. Sarah Manning, 9 uses for an ex-boyfriend. I literally have no excuse. It's not that large. It's by Sarah Manning. No excuse. John Connolly, The Book of Lost Things. My excuse is this is a hardback. Ooh, actual real excuse this time. I've heard lots of good things. It's supposed to be fairy tale-ish. It's a standalone. So yeah, my excuse is literally that it's a hardback. Next up is the Annotated Classic Fairy Tales, edited and with an introduction by Maria Tatar. Or Tartar. I'm butchering so many names, it's not even funny. This I'm really excited about reading, but it's not transportable in the slightest. I could not read this on the tube, can you imagine? It would be a nightmare. It would take up far too much room in your lap and annoy everybody around you. So that was my list of shame. Do you have a similar list? Are there books which you've put off for no reason really, even though you're really excited to have them? Have you got unread Christmas presents from years ago too? Leave me a comment. Also, let me know if you've read any of these books and which one you reckon I should read first. Don't forget to subscribe to Bookish Brits if you haven't already, and click the like button.